Fortnite just got a Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade. I'll be doing a battery test on the Switch 2 and how it compares to the Switch 1. I also want to show off how the Switch 2 version looks and runs compared to other consoles, the PS4, Switch 1 of course, Xbox Series S, and PS5 Pro. Let's first start with my battery test of Fortnite. I have the console at 100% here, settings are on medium, so brightness at medium and sound is at medium as well. That's the settings I benchmarked Switch 1 games on for years. At the 1 hour mark, there's 55% battery left. The 15% warning came at 1 hour and 52 minutes. At 2 hours, battery shows 9% on Switch 2. The 5% warning came at 2 hours and 4 minutes. My camera didn't capture the 1% warning, but it came around 2 hours and 9 minutes. And Fortnite on Nintendo Switch 2 powered off at 2 hours and 13 minutes. Here's my Switch 1 Fortnite test from 4 years ago. So Switch 2's battery life here is of course worse than Switch Lite, it's worse than Switch V2, and even worse than the launch edition V1 console. The Switch 1 OLED edition has the best battery life, almost 5.5 hours with this game. That's almost double the battery life of the new Switch 2. Another thing I noted here is how little juice the console has left after that 1% warning. Switch 1 consoles were all giving that 1% warning and then usually running 10 to 15 minutes even after that, whereas the Switch 2 only lasts about 3 to 4 minutes after giving that 1% warning. I guess the Switch 2's battery display is more accurate, that's a positive. Now let's have a look at the visual upgrade the Switch 2 brings. Here's how it looked compared to Switch 1. Huge upgrade in terms of the visuals. I mean, it better be a huge upgrade. We're talking about a whole console generation here. The draw distance is better, there's more details, there's better lighting, better shadows. Everything overall is just better. Switch 2's around 1200p docked, while in handheld mode it runs around 900p. The Switch 1's 880p docked, while it's around 660p in handheld mode. Switch 2 now gets those nice looking water reflections, which the Switch 1 was completely missing. Perhaps the biggest difference is the frame rate. We now have 60 FPS on the Switch 2 and pretty much a solid locked 60 FPS without any drops. Switch 1 was locked to 30 FPS but can't even hold a solid 30. There's drops into the mid-20s quite often on that 8-year-old console. Switch 1 also has a lot of pop-in when it comes to objects. Switch 2 is improving on that. Fortnite's really Switch 2's first attempt at Unreal Engine 5 and it looks good. I mean, the game runs well. I guess this opens the door for future Unreal Engine 5 games coming to Switch 2. Now, one feature missing from both Switch versions is the ability to display an in-game FPS counter. All the other platforms, including mobile, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, they let you do that. But on Nintendo's consoles, Epic got rid of that feature a while back. And that's why I had to manually capture and analyze the frame rate using an external tool. Now let's have a look at how Switch 2 compares to PlayStation 4. This is the OG PS4, almost 13-year-old console. Switch 2 does look better than PS4. Switch 2's higher resolution, the lighting's better, the shadow's better, draw distance is better, all the little details. There's a clear improvement over the PS4. Both consoles, of course, target 60 FPS. Even in terms of FPS stability, Switch 2 seems to be an improvement here over the PS4. Next, I compared Switch 2 to Xbox Series S. Guess what? The Switch 2 actually looks better than the Series S here. You can see the higher resolution, objects in the distance show more detail. The trees, especially in the vegetation, it looks better. Quality of shadows is also better. Nice to see a handheld console hold its own against an at-home console like the Xbox Series S. The next comparison is with the most powerful console, the PlayStation 5 Pro. As expected, sure, Switch 2 doesn't look as good as the PS5 Pro, but it compares better than I thought it would. PS5 Pro runs at a higher 1350p internal resolution and then upscales to 4K. PS5 Pro has ray trace lighting and reflections. PS5 Pro looks better when comparing also to the base PS5 and Xbox Series X. So this comparison here is not surprising, but maybe it is because the Switch 2, a portable console, doesn't look half bad next to the most powerful at-home console. Now the Xbox Series S, X, PS5, PS5 Pro, they all can run Fortnite at up to 120 FPS. Switch 2 doesn't have that option yet, but it might get added in later. I'm sure the hardware can handle 120 FPS with slightly lower detail. And that's what you need to know about Fortnite on Nintendo Switch 2. For the rest of the video, I have some more side-by-side comparisons with that FPS counter shown.